Leadjoy is back again with another new controller release. If you've watched my Xeno Plus controller review, this is its big brother, the Xeno Pro. There are a couple of new features with this new release, but will they make the price premium worth it? This is Ben, let's get into it. By the way, this was provided by Leadjoy free of charge, but I haven't been paid to make this review, and I haven't been made to say anything that isn't my honest thoughts and opinions on the product. This is a combo package, and at the time of making this video, I haven't gotten confirmation yet on whether this will be the base package, or if there will be a more bare bones package with just the essentials. I'm going to assume that there will be a cheaper version, and if I'm wrong, you're probably seeing an overlay about it right now. Inside at the top is a bag, and in the bag are the usual papers. And an extra cross D-pad cap. Then you get two more boxes inside. In the smaller box is the wireless charging dock. And in the bigger box is a braided and very flexible USB-A to C cable. It's about 5 feet long, which I think a lot of people might consider too short. This is the R20 wireless dongle, which is pretty cool. It works as both a regular dongle for playing wirelessly on PC, and it's also an adapter that you can use on the Xbox consoles to use your Leadjoy controller with them. And finally, the actual controller. The Xeno Pro is a multi-platform and multi-connection controller, compatible on PC, Nintendo Switch, iOS and Android, and using the R20 dongle, Xbox. It can connect via Bluetooth, 2.4 GHz wireless, and wired, and both wired and 2.4 GHz can poll up to 1000 Hz. One of the big selling points and differences from the Xeno Plus is in the tension-adjustable thumbstick modules. Just like in the Vader 4 and 5 controllers from FlyDigi, there's a ring around the modules that you turn to loosen and tighten to your desired tension. A lot of people love this feature on controllers, and I'm one of them. Unlike the FlyDigi Hall Effect modules though, these modules are TMR, and from what I can tell, using the JT19 modules from K-Silver. Another new addition to the Pro that wasn't on the Plus are vibration motors inside the triggers. This will add a lot more immersion and feedback for games like racing games, sports games, and story-based games. And speaking of the triggers, they're dual mode, with Hall Effect analog and microswitch digital modes. Continuing with what makes the Pro different from the Plus, on Leadjoy's official spec sheet, they claim that all main 16 buttons are microswitches, those buttons being the ABXY, D-pad, bumpers and triggers, and the extra back buttons. If you've watched my sound test short on this controller though, it doesn't seem to be the case for my model. Mine sounds exactly the same as my Xeno Plus, which means that the D-pad, bumpers, and inner back buttons aren't microswitches. I've contacted Leadjoy about this, but I haven't heard back from them yet, so maybe I got a pre-production model, and the official release model will have all microswitches. The controller also offers a 1000 Hz 6-axis gyro, has an internal 1000 mAh battery, is of course compatible with wireless dock charging, and weighs in at about 236 grams, which is quite light for a fully featured Pro controller. Check out Leadjoy's Kickstarter campaign if you want to get more details on the features of the Xeno Pro. Link will be in the description. It looks and feels almost identical to the Xeno Plus. Really, there's only one noticeable visual difference that sticks out right away, which are the tension rings and the sticks. Even the weight and the balance feels the same, with the Plus only being about 6 grams lighter than the Pro. Looking closer at the triggers though, you can see the vibration motors and the wires on the Pro, which isn't on the Plus. Also, the texture on the bumpers of the Pro are a lot softer than on the Plus. It still gives a decent enough grip, but it's an interesting change, almost like it's worn out or something. All of the buttons feel good, solid, responsive, and the bumpers and triggers actually feel slightly improved over the Plus. The Plus has a little post-travel on the triggers in clicky mode when you press down hard that makes it feel like it might break at some point, and the bumpers are a little too loose and wiggly. Both issues seem to have been fixed on the Pro. I've said this with the Plus, I'm not a fan of the grey dish D-pad for the aesthetics. I think that the black cross D-pad looks better. And as far as the overall aesthetics of the controller goes, it's not my favorite look, but it's not bad. Purple and black is a decent combination. The added grey is just a little off for me personally. These sticks are crazy smooth, even smoother than on my Vader 5 Pro. I'm curious to know if there's some sort of silicone pad underneath, because especially on the outer edges it almost feels too smooth. The tension rings are a little annoying to operate. They're pretty low profile and a little hard to get a good grip on. They're not very hard to turn, and they do have a ratcheting mechanism, but it's pretty soft, so you feel it more than you hear it. Comparing the minimum and maximum tension settings, there's a pretty decent difference between the two. By feel, I'd say that max tension is pretty comparable to the max tension of my Vader 5 Pro, but minimum tension feels a lot lower on the Vader 5 Pro. That doesn't bother me though. Minimum tension on the Vader is way lower than I would ever have it, so I'm pretty happy with the minimum tension on the Xeno Pro. If you like your stick tension to feel like it's almost missing a spring though, it might not be for you. Let's see how these sticks actually perform in games though, that's the most important metric. Since this controller isn't released yet, there aren't any gamepad-led third-party latency results as of the making of this video. Leadjoy's own marketing is claiming 2.6 milliseconds stick and 2.7 milliseconds button latency wired, and 5.9 milliseconds stick and 5.5 millisecond button latency wireless, which is great for 1000Hz polling, and in my opinion more than good enough for competitive gaming. Most of these companies are actually using P82s to test and report their latency numbers, so I'm fairly confident that their claim numbers are accurate, and my gaming results seem to reflect that as well. Some people are pretty concerned about these new models being the JT19 modules from K-Silver, and although they're still very good TMR modules, they aren't as good as the JS13 Pros that are on the controllers like the G7 Pro 8K, Tarantula 8K, Mojang Storm, or even the little brother Xeno Plus. But honestly, I can barely tell the difference, if any at all, in performance between this controller and the others. Granted, I've only tested it on COD and Halo so far. Maybe if I played some Apex Legends or Warzone there would be a bit more noticeable difference, who knows. We're pretty spoiled for choices nowadays with high performance controllers, and you can add the Xeno Pro to the growing list. I've had no issues playing well in COD with it, and even used it for some games of Ranked, where I'm usually pretty strict on only using my Vader 5 Pro and sometimes my G7 Pro 8K. Unfortunately, my Halo Infinite gameplay got corrupted somehow, so I don't have any clips, but my verdict is no different. Great controller performance, no problems playing to my usual standards in Halo. Tracking feels great, responsiveness is snappy, and the tension adjustment really lets me dial in my most comfortable tension for each stick. Outside of the shape not being the most comfortable for me playing longer gaming sessions, I really have nothing negative to say about the performance of this controller. Out of all of the software apps I've used for all of the controllers that I have, Leadjoy's app has the most settings options, especially when it comes to the sticks. I won't go very in-depth into everything, mostly because I honestly don't really understand what half of the settings even do, but I'll quickly go through all of the different options. You can download their app through their website, and for the PC version of the app, you'll be prompted to download it from the Microsoft Store. They also have a competitive firmware version of the app for pro Apex players to be able to legally use Leadjoy controllers in tournaments. But for this video, we'll just go over the main app. Here's the main page with the Xeno Pro connected, and on the left are your main tabs for the different settings. Starting with Config, here's where you access the main customizations of your controller, including the button mappings, macros and turbo functions, joystick settings, trigger dead zones and modes, vibrations, gyro, and the magic key, which is an accessory that Leadjoy sells, which I don't have. You also have two sub-configs within the main config that basically acts like shift layers that you can toggle between with different settings in each of them. The next tab down is specifically for macros. Honestly, I've never used macros, so I don't actually know what to do with this page. Next down is firmware, which is obviously where you would go to update the controller's firmware if there's an available one. After that is controller, which is just a page to test your controller and make sure all of the buttons are working and being detected. Last one down is settings, which has some important things like your polling rate options, step precision or stick resolution, calibrating your sticks, triggers, and gyro, some joint joystick and D-pad options, and an about page. That's pretty much it for the app, and I know that I didn't really go into detail on the different settings, but Leadjoy's app is very deep, pretty easy to navigate, and might not be the prettiest looking, but is definitely the best overall app that I've used out of all the controllers I've reviewed so far. Before I get into my concluding thoughts, I've gotten some new info on the Xeno Pro. The model I got is in fact not the final version, and the final version will have all micro-switch buttons, which mine isn't. Also, it looks like the base package of the controller will include an extra keycap set, but not the R20 dongle that I got with my package. Instead, it'll just be the regular dongle for playing wireless on PC. It's also currently priced at $75, which I think is a pretty good price point for it, but that seems to be discounted from $84, which isn't quite as good. So what do I think of the Xeno Pro overall, especially compared to the Xeno Plus? I think that it's a great controller, but really only worth it over the Plus if you really need and want the tension adjustable sticks and the trigger vibrations, and if you're looking for a controller for many different types of games. It's definitely a lot more versatile than the Plus, and a $15 price increase is very fair for the extra features. If you're someone who likes to play a variety of games, including FPS, and can take advantage of the trigger vibrations and tension adjustment in those other games, the Xeno Pro is a very good option as a general controller for everything, as long as you like the shape and ergonomics, of course. If you're more like me though and primarily just play competitive FPS games, I think that the Xeno Plus is just the better overall value option. I'm a big fan of tension adjustment, and I think that every Pro controller should have it, but I don't make any use of the vibrations, and I don't think that the Pro offers enough changes from the Plus to warrant recommending it for games like COD, Halo, Warzone, Apex Legends, etc. They have pretty much the same build quality, and technically the Plus has the better performance stick modules. I like micro-switch buttons, but I also know many that prefer membrane buttons instead, so the Pro can be seen as an upgrade or a downgrade on that front. Basically, if you're looking for a do-it-all controller with good build quality, good value, great features, and smaller ergonomics than the basic Xbox controller, the Xeno Pro from Leadjoy might be the one for you. I love what Leadjoy is doing, and I love how aggressive they're being with their value proposition. Hopefully, they're able to keep this up, because the more competition, the better. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you found this video useful and helpful, and don't forget to check out Leadjoy's Kickstarter campaign for their Xeno Pro. Link will be in the description. Thanks again, and until next time.